Hi, in this video I'm going to introduce you to one of the major assignments for EDU 188, which is the video commentary assignment. You're going to complete 2 video commentaries this semester. Both of those are going to happen later in the semester after we have completed reading our 4 main theorists and after you've completed your theorist presentations. So by the time we write our video commentaries, you will be familiar with several different educational theories. You'll be able to identify those theories in practice in classrooms. But for now, I want to give you an overview of where we're headed with the video commentary assignment. So the assignment description says that in order to identify and analyze educational theories and research-based practice in action, students will watch videos of K-12 classroom instruction and write detailed commentaries to connect theory and practice. Each student will watch 2 classroom videos and write a detailed commentary for each, justifying the instructional strategies used in the video by connecting those strategies to research and theory. Students must follow APA 6th edition formatting guidelines. So you're going to watch 2 different classroom videos and you're going to write a commentary for each. In your commentary, you're going to respond to these 6 prompts. And you're actually going to include these prompts and headings in your commentary paper. Each of your commentaries should be no more than 6 single-spaced pages, including the prompts. So you have these questions on Canvas, and I'll also be giving you a handout that describes the video commentary assignment. You'll just copy these headings and prompts into your document in Google Drive where you'll start your first video commentary, and then below each question you'll add your response. Your video commentary should read like a narrative. So for each of these questions you should aim for approximately 1 page in response. So we're going for no more than 6 single-spaced pages, but it should be pretty close to 6 pages. So really 5 or 6 pages is what we're looking for. Anything less than 5 pages is not going to be enough to justify the practices. The idea is that you're able to watch a teacher in action through a video, and in the video you're able to identify instructional strategies the teacher is using and justify those strategies based on the theorists and the research that we've been reading in this course. So for each of these questions, you should be able to write approximately 1 page, maybe 3/4 of a page to a page in response. Those are going to be single-spaced responses. So I want to show you an example of how to begin crafting a video commentary. First, let me share with you the due dates are here. The first commentary is going to be due, a draft is going to be due on November 2nd. You'll get feedback and a chance to revise, and then your final will be due November 9th. Your second commentary, the draft is due November 21st and the final on the 30th. You'll find the videos for this assignment in our Canvas site. So you'll click on Modules, find this module that's called Videos for Video Commentary Assignment. And there are 5 videos for you to choose from. You're going to watch 1 video for your first commentary, and then you're going to watch a different video for your second commentary. So these are your commentary questions. I want to show you how you might respond to these questions with the video we watched in class that was called Scaffolds for Critical Thinking. So if you take a moment to refresh your memory about this video, the teacher was working with an elementary classroom to compare things and ideas. So she was working on moving these students from concrete concepts, from concrete objects to abstract ideas. And what I've done is created a video commentary outline for that video, just to show you what your outline for your commentary might start to look like. So for your commentary, you might start like I've done here with just a bulleted outline, but eventually you'll have to turn your bulleted outline into a narrative where you take these ideas and you turn them into paragraphs. So the first question in the commentary prompt is to identify the language function, vocabulary, syntax, and discourse that students use to engage with content in the video. So here, from the scaffolding critical thinking video, I've identified the language function, which is to compare. The vocabulary, primarily the vocabulary was concrete and abstract. There was a lot of Tier 1 vocabulary in that lesson, but I'm focusing mainly on the Tier 3. The syntax students used was a 2-column chart to compare the concrete objects and the abstract ideas. And the discourse, or the structure or shape of the language students used, was a discussion. There wasn't a lot of written language. It was primarily oral, so it was primarily discussion. So I've identified each of these here. All I would need to do for my commentary then is turn this into a couple of paragraphs where I describe the language function, how students were comparing these concrete objects with abstract ideas. I would describe how the students use these vocabulary terms. I would describe how the students were using this syntax of the side-by-side comparison. And I would describe how students were engaged in a discussion around the text, particularly during the read aloud and after the read aloud. The second question asks you to describe how the teacher supported students' use of academic language. So in question 1, you're simply identifying what the language function, vocabulary, syntax, and discourse were in your video. And in the second question, you're describing how the teacher supported students in using that academic language. So what sorts of supports or strategies did the teacher use to help students do these things? So for example, for the language function of compare, the teacher used real-world objects and text on strips and images to help students with that comparison. So I would describe that for you in my commentary. The teacher did a lot of modeling with writing on the board and with sentence strips. And then the teacher read aloud, so she used a lot of that vocabulary, concrete and abstract, when she was reading aloud and facilitating a discussion. Now what you want to do when you're writing your commentary is use enough description so that someone who had not watched your video could understand what was happening. So you want to use details to describe what was happening. So I have a bulleted list here, but I would turn this bullet point A, I would turn that into an entire paragraph where I describe how the teacher did that. I would describe what she put on their desks and what she put on the board and how she used those things to help students compare. Like, for example, how they compared actual pets to the idea or the feeling they get about their pets. So I would describe that. But another piece of your commentary is this idea of justifying these instructional strategies based on the work we've read from these educational theorists. So in these paragraphs, as I'm writing my commentary, I need to do a couple of things. I need to first describe what's happening. Second, I need to link what's happening to the theorists we've been reading about. So as I'm describing, for example, what the teacher did here in moving from concrete to abstract and how she supported that, I would be able to pull in the Vygotsky reading where he mentions moving from concrete to abstract and helping students in their zone of proximal development. So I could mention a quick statement from Vygotsky. I could mention something from Bloom, who also writes about that idea of moving from concrete to abstract. And then I would cite Bloom and cite Vygotsky here. So we're not just describing what's happening in the video, but we're also trying to connect it to the theorists we've been reading. Your next section is analyzing the teaching. So question 3 says, explain how the teacher helped students approach mastery of the learning outcomes. And this idea of mastery comes straight from our first 2 readings of Bloom, where we read about his mastery learning approach. So you can revisit your guided notes, look at the strategies we brainstormed for mastery learning, and then identify any of those strategies you might see in the lesson. And then again, you'll describe what those strategies were, and I've described some of them here. You'll flesh this out in more detail so that you actually have paragraphs describing those mastery learning strategies. And then you should have some citations of Bloom, where you mention what it is Bloom has to say about mastery learning and how that connects to the strategies you saw in the video. Then we have a question about scaffolding and differentiation. So for scaffolding, you're going to refer to the Vygotsky readings, and for differentiation, you're going to refer to the Tomlinson readings. We're going to be reading about Carol Ann Tomlinson and her strategies for differentiation. And I've just listed some of those here. Again, I would describe in detail what the students are doing, and then I would support those with citations for Vygotsky and citations for Tomlinson. And these last two questions, you're asked to think about what changes the teacher could have made to better support student learning. So think about something the teacher could have done differently, and then you need to describe why. So in the first paragraph, you're just describing something that could have happened differently. Could be one thing or a couple of things. And then in the last question, you're describing why that change or those changes would have made a difference for students. And this is where you're going to bring in your theorists again. So which of your theorists would support those changes? This questions 5 and 6, these are great places for you to bring in the theorists you're reading for your theorist research presentation. So if you're reading about Howard Gardner and his idea of multiple intelligences, then you may want to connect that here. So maybe there is a change the teacher could make to ensure that she's meeting students' different types of intelligence. Or if you're reading about Carol Dweck and the growth mindset, and she might suggest having students set goals for their learning, then you might suggest that as a possible change for the lesson. And then here in number 6, you'll bring in ideas from those readings, from your guided notes or from your theorist presentations to justify those changes. Why should the teacher make those changes? Which researchers and theorists would support that idea? And then you'll have a references list. So I've just listed a few that I would definitely include here, the Bloom readings and the Vygotsky readings. But then also to get at these, to answer this differentiation question, I'm going to have the Tomlinson readings as well. So you'll have a references list, and those will all be formatted in APA format. Now the whole goal for you with this video commentary is to get some practice for your EdTPA. When you get to the point in your program where you're working on EdTPA, you will be writing multiple commentaries. So this is your first sort of taking a stab at that, your first practice with this idea of writing a commentary where you're identifying effective strategies and then justifying those strategies based on what you've learned from educational theorists and researchers. So we're going to get a lot of practice with that in this course. This video was just to introduce you to this assignment. We're going to do a lot of practice together over the next few weeks. We'll be watching videos in class, and we'll be creating commentary outlines together. You'll also do some partner and small group practice and actually taking video commentary outlines and turning those into paragraphs. So you'll have multiple steps of scaffolding and practice in writing a commentary before you are expected to be able to produce one of these on your own. But I wanted to create this video to give you an idea of where we're headed. Next week in class, we will actually be watching a video and starting some of this commentary writing together as a whole group to practice. So I wanted you to know where it is that we're heading with this assignment. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and practice. You can take a look at any of these videos here in the module called Videos for Video Commentary Assignment, and just start thinking of where you might identify responses to these questions. Remember, again, we're looking at academic language, how the teacher supported students' use of academic language. We're looking at learning for mastery, scaffolding and differentiation. And then finally, we're looking at what changes the teacher could have made and why. So that's where we're headed with the video commentary assignment. Again, we have several weeks before you have to turn in a draft, and we'll be doing a lot of practice between now and then. Thanks for taking the time to watch.